You're watching India Post Live. I'm Shivraj, and today we're discussing No Country for Mangoes, the European Union ban on the Alfonso mangoes till December 2015. You can join the conversation by logging on to our website, indiapostlive.com. You can also tweet with us, hashtag IndiaPostLive. Now, the European Union has banned the prized Alfonso mango from India till at least December 2015 on a technicality, saying that one consignment or two had non-European fleas, and therefore has banned the fruit on till 2015.
Come the 1st of May, and Indians living in the United Kingdom will not be able to savor the taste of Indian mangoes. This decision was proposed by the European Commission after 207 consignments were found contaminated in 2013. The ban will last till 2015 and has been imposed on mangoes, eggplant, the taro plant, bitter gourd and snake gourd. UK's Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs has backed the ban to save the remaining crops of the country from possible pests. Almost 16 million mangoes are exported from India annually, and market value is approximately $10 million. So not only will Indians abroad lose out the mangoes, so will mango producers who make a good profit on exports. But Indians back home will not be complaining despite the price rise. The king of fruits will fit their budget this summer.
So clearly a great loss for mango lovers across Europe. Well, joining us in the conversation in studio, Dr. Murli from the Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, and also Mr. Rahul Kohli, Rakesh Kohli, who's the MD of Harshna Group of Companies, where you not just export mangoes, but you're also in the business of package and storage as well. Joining us via Google Hangout from Kolhapur is Sanjay Mori, who's the MD of the Sri Mahalakshmi Agro Farms. Sanjay ji, पहले आपसे ये पूछना चाहता हूँ कि ये बैन का असर क्या हो रहा है, क्योंकि ये मैंगो सीजन के पहले इन्होंने बैन किया हुआ है.
ये मैंगो ऐसा हो रहा है, जो अभी मैंगो का रेट मिलता था वो नहीं मिलता है. फार्मर्स को जो रेट मिलना चाहिए वो नहीं मिलता है, लेकिन जो यूरोप में बैन हो गया है इसलिए अभी फार्मर्स को पहले रेट नहीं मिलता है.
उम्मीद की जा रही है कि 2000 टन के ऊपर
पूरा मार्केट का रेट कम आ रहा है.
जी जी, और लोग कह रहे हैं कि 2000 टन के मैंगोज को शायद डिस्ट्रॉय करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि ये एक्सपोर्ट के लिए लगा रहे थे.
हाँ, वो तो अभी क्या होगा, फार्मर्स का मैंगो कैनिंग में जाएगा मैंगो पल्प निकालने के लिए. अच्छा. वो अभी रेट कम होने से वजह क्या होगा, वो सब मैंगो फ्रेश टेबल फ्रूट का जो अच्छा रेट से मैंगो बेचना चाहिए वो रेट नहीं मिलेगा, और वो मैंगो कैनिंग के लिए जाएगा.
ओके.
और इससे में क्या होगा, फार्मर्स का नुकसान होगा.
जी जी जी. Rakesh, as you can see, on-ground farmers, very emotive, because clearly they had sown their orchards really for the export market. As a leading exporter, someone who's in the business of packaging and storing, and it's been years that we've been exporting mangoes, especially the Alfonso. So what do you make of the latest development with the European Union imposing this ban?
Firstly, we came to know that from 1st April, European Union will import mangoes only from APIDA approved pack houses. And we invested huge amounts to upgrade our pack houses upgraded up to international levels. And suddenly we came to know that European Union ने इसके ऊपर 1 मई से बैन लगा दिया है. तो इसका जहाँ तक मुझे समझ आता है, इसका बड़ा अच्छा हल था. वी कैन treat these mangoes after post harvesting. डिप ट्रीटमेंट है, इरिगेशन ट्रीटमेंट है, हॉट वाटर ट्रीटमेंट है.
तो आर्ग्यूमेंट ये भी है कि अगर इन कंसाइनमेंट्स में से 5-6% इसमें फ्रूट फ्लीज मिली
जी,
तो फिर जो एक्सपोर्टर थे उन पे प्यूरेटिव मेजर्स पूरे इंडस्ट्री को क्यों बैन करवा रहे हैं?
यही बात है कि फ्रूट फ्लाइज जो हैं वो कम्प्लीटली हार्वेस्ट के बाद जो ट्रीटमेंट होती हैं उनसे बिल्कुल ज़ीरो हो सकती हैं। और उसी स्टैंडर्ड से आज तक जो यूरोपियन यूनियन में जाता था वो विदाउट ट्रीटेड जाता था
जी।
और जब वो बाई एयर मंगवाते हैं तो उसमें एग्स या फ्रूट फ्लाइज थोड़ी बहुत रह जाती हैं। लेकिन यही जो है वो चाइना में और जो दूसरी डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज़ हैं, ऑस्ट्रेलिया, न्यूजीलैंड, जापान, वहाँ पर ट्रीटमेंट होके जा रहा है, तो उनको कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। जब उनको कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है तो फर्स्टली इन्होंने भी इसी चीज़ को हमें ये कहा कि ये अप्रूव्ड पैक हाउस से हो और हमने उसको उसी तरीके से ट्रीट करके भेजने की एक कोशिश की। लेकिन उससे पहले कि वो कोशिश का रिजल्ट निकलते, इन लोगों ने उस चीज़ को एक तरफा डिसीजन लेके बैन कर दिया, जबकि इनको जो पहले इनकी एपीडा से बात हुई थी कि उनके अप्रूव जो पैक हाउसेस होंगे वहाँ से जो कंसाइनमेंट आएंगे हम उनको पूरी तरह एक्सेप्ट करेंगे। इसका मतलब ये है कि इनको एपीडा के अप्रूव्ड उस चीज़ पे भी भरोसा नहीं रहा और इन्होंने खुद ही एक तरफा डिसीजन ले लिए, जो हमारे लिए शॉकिंग वो है।
Dr. Murli, from you're a standardization expert. You look at trade with the European Union. It's been going on for so many years. As Rakesh pointed out, till now there were no objections to consignments coming in without being treated post-harvest. What are the technicalities that the European Union is throwing in terms of the rule book at India?
See, in terms of technicality, they're not throwing any new rule book. They are using the SPS provisions of risk assessment and conformity procedures and scientific justifications for banning this fruit fly. But I have to highlight, some of the issues which come up, in the context of SPS agreement. SPS agreement has three sisters, wherein standards are set: OIE, Codex, and IPPC.
Okay, and
So,
from a very lay person's perspective, what are these really?
these are actually, animal health related. OIE is animal related, health related issues, and Codex is related to human food safety, and IPPC is, as the name suggests, it's plant protection. So, and you do have deviation from these standards set at the standard intragovernmental bodies. So, I think, at a larger level, India has to take it very seriously.
Yes.
With the SPS committee at the WTO or bilaterally with EU. And the other issue is, you see the flexibility given under the SPS based on risk assessment, procedures followed in the country. They would have a dossier of risk assessment tests conducted, and they would come up with something which is.
But would you say that such a lengthy ban, right till December 2015, because it's 2 seasons now that they're covering, is a bit extreme?
Yes, I think it's a tit for tat. We have a court case against the chocolate manufactured from Belgium, and Scotch coming from France, and I suppose it's Scotch from the European Union. So they have taken this ban, as a tit for tat for our ban on the products. So I don't think there is any justification for the ban.
And some flexibility could perhaps be incorporated as well.
Yes, of course, some flexibility. You can actually ask for, as he said, APIDA certified means, that means they don't trust our export certifying bodies. So, there's the whole concept of mutual recognition is not missing in the
So again,
debate.
it's a bit of politics falling into the realm of trade and the fact that it's a tit for tat.
Exactly.
So, we're joined by Google Hangout by Iqbal Kidwai from Lucknow, who's an owner of orchards and mangoes. What sort of implication do you see or impact do you see on your next harvest with the ban from Europe, because Europe is one of the largest consumers of mangoes?
As far as we are concerned here, and I can only speak for myself or the people around us in Lucknow and Barabanki, Maliabad, that area, the mango business is very large. It's spread all over India. For us, I don't think as growers it's going to impact us very much, because we don't grow Alfonsos.
Right.
We grow the Seris, Langras, Chosas,
Sure.
which I don't think are exported that much to the European Union. Whatever goes is not a very large percentage. And as for us growers, personally, for me, it is making no difference at all, because
Okay.
our fruit we've got enough consumption in the local markets to deal with. I mean, I agree completely with the discussion that's been going on about, trade protection barriers, tit for tats in business, and so on and so forth. In fact, perhaps an example of how the European Union protects, or even America protects, its own agriculture and its farmers
Absolutely.
far more than our government does.
Right, and the
And
negotiations have been stuck there on the issue of phasing out subsidies and things like that as well with the Europeans.
Yes, and on the one hand, we have this whole conversation of phasing out subsidies and so on and so forth, and then on the other hand, we've got a problem where people seem to have a huge issue about raising minimum support prices and so on. Well, that's a larger issue, and there's nothing to do with the mangoes. But to come back to the mangoes, as I said, and perhaps makes a difference to the Alfonso growers, but as a grower and as a consumer, I love mangoes. I've grown up with
Right.
mangoes as a child, and I love eating mangoes. If I read in the papers recently that because of this problem, the prices of Alfonso has crashed in the market and has come to some 150
And what
rupees.
cascading effect would that have on your mangoes? Would that, if
It
any?
doesn't have any effect at all, sir,
Okay.
on mine or on the Dussehri's Chaucas. We get the same price. In fact, we're expecting a higher price this year because the our area, the mangoes are not with. It's not been a very good season. Last year was very good, so we're hoping to get a better price this year in the local markets. And if you're getting Alfonso 150 rupees a kilo, I think that's good news for the Indian consumer. If nothing else, maybe not for the Alfonso farmers, but yes, the Indian consumer gets to have some. At 150 rupees, I still think it's a hell of a lot of money.
Okay.
Because, I mean, we get mangoes here at 20 rupees or 40 rupees a kg.
Okay, we do have actually Sanjay More online from Kolhapur, of course, whose main business is the Alfonso mango. संजय जी, आपके पूरे बिजनेस में और आपके एरिया के बिजनेस में क्या असर पड़ेगा? क्योंकि आप यहाँ सुन रहे थे डिस्कशन में कह रहे कि एक्चुअली पोस्ट हार्वेस्ट आप इतना ध्यान नहीं देते ट्रीट करने के लिए, क्या आप ये अब करेंगे?
मैंगो एक्सपोर्ट बैन होने से पहला मैंगो का रेट कम होता है। हेलो
जी,
हाँ, मैंगो का रेट कम होता है, इसीलिए फार्मर्स का नुकसान होता है, पहले मैंने आपको बताया है। और अभी वो मैंगो क्या होगा, सब मैंगो कैनिंग में जाएगा मैंगो पल्प के लिए।
अच्छा,
इसीलिए उनको सब रेट कम मिलेगा। मैंगो का जो रेट है एक्सपोर्ट में ज्यादा रेट मिलता है, वो नहीं मिलेगा, कम मिलेगा।
ओके जी।
और दूसरा ये बात है वो मैंगो एक्सपोर्ट करने के लिए क्या प्रोसेस करना पड़ेगा और क्या काउंट्री के लिए क्या करना पड़ेगा, यही पर बात होना चाहिए।
Okay. Rakesh, I think Sanjay is making a valid point. I think there has to be perhaps better education and understanding of what happens post-harvest so that they don't fall into the same trap of being rejected by countries that are so stringent like the European Union per se. From your perspective as a businessman, who should be doing that, and is that something that has really begun? Because you just talked about earlier of the entire effort to upgrade storage and packaging as well.
इसमें काफ़ी ज़्यादा इन्वेस्टमेंट की गुंजाइश होती है और जो भी गवर्नमेंट बॉडीज़ हैं उस सब्सिडाइज पे या उस चीज़ पे हम लोगों को जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बना रहे हैं उनको हेल्प तो कर रहे हैं, लेकिन वो प्रॉपर नहीं है। लेकिन मेरे व्यू में कि इसको पूरी तरह बैन करने के बजाय एक अपॉर्चुनिटी ये देनी चाहिए थी कि जो इस नॉर्म्स पे निकल के आते हैं उनको हम पास करेंगे। जब वो होता तो हम पोस्ट हार्वेस्ट ट्रीटमेंट या और जो भी एफर्ट्स हैं वो उसमें लगाते कि हमारे जो है अपने आप को अपग्रेड करके, अपने स्टोरेज को अपग्रेड करके, अपने फार्मर्स को एजुकेट करके, अपनी इंडस्ट्री को अपग्रेड करके, ये हमारे लिए एक प्राइड की भी बात होती कि हम अपने आप को इंटरनेशनल स्टैंडर्ड पे ले जा रहे हैं। लेकिन वो मौका दिए बगैर उन्होंने एक तरफा फैसला कर दिया और उसको बिल्कुल बैन कर दिया, जबकि ये सारे एफर्ट्स जो हम कर रहे थे लास्ट एक महीने में, उसके लिए उसके बाद अगर कोई जाता, ये हमारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि उनको फ्रूट फ्लाइज से बिल्कुल फ्री जो भी हमें एक्सपोर्ट करना है वो अप टू स्टैंडर्ड होना चाहिए, अप टू नॉब्स होना चाहिए। हर कंट्री का अपना वो है, लेकिन उसके लिए हमारे पास एक नॉब्स आनी चाहिए, हमारे पास उनकी रिक्वायरमेंट आनी चाहिए और हम अपने आप को ऑपरेट करके उनको वो चीज़ दे सकते हैं। लेकिन अब दिसंबर 2015 तक उन्होंने टोटली बैन कर दिया है, जो जस्टिफाई नहीं है।
So, Dr. Murli, we're hearing reports that the government is making representations to Brussels, and we're also hearing that domestically in countries like the UK, there's been a huge protest against the ban. What are the next steps? What can take place now?
See, we need to realize that tariff has been going down, and the incidence of non-tariff measures have been going up. So, in terms of cumulative effort, it's much more than what we see on an yearly notification. Each notification adds to the previous year's notification. So, what we are seeing, we are going into a regime of standards. So, there is no getaway from standards. We need to realize that, and Indian certifying bodies, export certifying bodies needs to be very, very careful. I can tell you there are 21 vegetables which are exported to 22 vegetables exported to EU, which have been banned for some reason or the other.
Non-tariff reasons.
Non-tariff reasons, for pesticide content, chemical content, and some filth and other things, some unauthorized substance. And Alfonsa unfortunately doesn't figure, fortunately or unfortunately, it doesn't figure in the list of fruits exported. Close to 8 fruits are exported: grapes, Thomas seedless grapes, and pomegranates, and things like that. Alfonsa has never been figured in this list. This is the list I have till 2012 from the database, of RASSF, Rapid Alert System for Food and Feed. From my analysis, Alfonsa was never there, as a target. 2013, Alfonsa was brought to the list, because they
somewhat of a negative list.
Somewhat of a negative list. 6 consignments were blocked, and they were found with pests, fruit flies, and fruit fly as such is not a very sophisticated thing to to take care of. Those can be taken care of by simple mild irradiation, or, as he said, hot water
dipping.
Hot water treatment, hot water vapor.
But again, it was just 5% of the consignment that normally comes in, and they've used that to extrapolate that it will infect the environment. And this is the UK federal agency as well.
See, actually, even 5%, even one pest, if it enters a zone or a ecological system, that can have a devastating effect. Rabbits were introduced as pets in Australia. That population grew because the population rabbits grew, and bunny was a big pest in. That sort of a. Likewise, we have many cases in India. Parthenian grass was introduced from US to India. Initially they grew around the railway tracks, but now they are all over the country. So these are actually, when we need to take care of our interest and their interest also, but they have to be on a justifiable manner, justified manner. So it has to be on an internationally harmonized, because that is the most balanced way of looking at it.
And so, Rakesh, going back to the question, are we perhaps a little lackadaisical in keeping abreast with the international standards in terms of the supply chain?
Yeah, we can. We have latest technology and latest pack houses in the last 2 or 3 years, और हम इस चीज़ में पूरी तरह तैयार हैं. टेक्नोलॉजी भी आ चुकी है, सब कुछ आ चुकी है, और इस वक्त हम लोग काफ़ी हाई स्टैंडर्ड्स को मेंटेन कर रहे हैं. सरप्राइजिंगली ये है कि पाकिस्तान से वो लोग मंगवा रहे हैं, उसको बैन नहीं किया है, जबकि वहाँ के जो स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं वो हमारे से काफ़ी कम हैं. और उसके साथ साथ में जो वहाँ के पैक हाउस के स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं या जो इंटरनेशनल नॉर्म्स हैं, मुझे नहीं समझ आता कि इंडिया को इस चीज़ के लिए क्यों बैन किया गया है.
It's quite surprising, actually to look at India and Pakistan. We all know that the Pakistan is in shambles, right? Because of various reasons, and our institutions are pretty good, like APIDA and all are pretty good, in terms of. I don't understand what is the need to ban a particular product for, and vegetables also. I suppose vegetables are also banned from India for till 2015. And see, one other thing which I would like to highlight here is standards are not, as we think, a static commodity. The scale of measurement goes higher and higher with the stage of development. The more developed a country is, the more stringent a standard is. In terms of measurement, they vary. They've gone to atomic to subatomic level, so they can measure at subatomic level certain commodities presence in, and that will change the whole ball game of trade. And we are seeing a drop in trade with both these countries in comparison to world, US and EU, from 43 to 12%. In US it is 14 to 8% till 2012.
So I'm just going to go to Sanjay More in Kolhapur. Sanjay ji, अब आगे अब क्या एक्शन लेंगे आप, क्योंकि भारत सरकार भी कह रहे हैं कि वो रिप्रेजेंटेशन करेंगे यूरोपियन यूनियन में, लेकिन आपके तरफ से आप क्या प्रेशर लगाएंगे?
जो अभी प्रॉब्लम हुआ ये बारे में ना
जी,
हाँ, अभी हमारा खुद का दुबई में हम कंटेनर भेज रहे हैं
जी,
एशिया बैंकों का दुबई भेज रहे हैं। यूरोप का बैन है, इसीलिए हम दुबई और इंडियन मार्केट ये दोनों में हम ये कर रहे हैं। यूरोप तो बैन हो गया है, इसीलिए अभी दुबई में हमारा मैंगो जा रहा है।
Okay, Iqbal, I know you said you weren't impacted, but mangoes per se, in a European perspective, they won't distinguish between Alfonsos and others. Are you worried that any mangoes, even if they're gifted by Indians to their European friends, would be impacted as well?
Absolutely. You see, the thing is that I mean, like I said earlier, I quite agree with the discussion that's going on, and it's imperative that we take action now, because whatever action we take now, in terms whether it's APIDA or the government or agricultural ministries educating farmers on not only on fruit flies but also on use of chemicals which have been banned in America and Europe, or fertilizers, pesticides. There are lots of things which we are using which are not really acceptable elsewhere. Now, unless we start educating people on these things right now, it will not take effect over the next 4 years. It will take that long for us to get back on stream. So if we start today, we'll get into their kind of standards 5 years down the line. So we need to start very soon. And that is not happening. I mean, I have found personally as a farmer, that we get more support and help from private companies who come to us to buy our produce, and say, look, do this, do that. We are doing workshops, come and attend. We'll help you this way. We'll send our people. That we get far more help from them than we get from government agencies. I'm sorry to say that to the gentlemen sitting in the studio, but unfortunately, that is what I have seen. I'm sure that there can be things which can be handled in a better way.
So, Dr. Murli, in light of what's happened, you say as countries get more developed, they get more stringent, they go into sub-atoms, they go into real technicalities. Nanotechnology. Are you worried that, with the EU ban, other markets like America, for instance, that already is watching, could step in?
Yeah, no, so this is not at a nanotechnology level, this is just a fruit fly.
Right.
So, USS already has a full system of nanotechnology-based standards. And they have started already applying, notifying to the WTO, because WTO has a system of in under SPS and TBT, they are supposed to notify under the transparency clause of WTO. So they are notifying. There are a couple of notifications already. I have a record of. By the way, let me tell you, this is a good program to tell it. We do maintain a database on SPS and TBT measures at the Center for WTO Studies from 1995 to 2 months with a 2 months lag. So that is maintained for all countries, for all notifying countries, database on both these SPS and TBT measures are maintained. And one other thing which I would like to highlight is, our exporting bodies need to look at the whatever protective measures are being taken by the developed countries. They need to be vigilant
and match those.
Vigilant, and match with them. We may not be able to match. At least we may follow certain procedures, good agriculture practices, or HACCP. Or any of these, and try and get over the and very importantly, we need to take this up in the specific trade concern in the next SPS meeting.
Okay, before we get to that, because I think it's a very moot point of what next steps should take place, Rakesh, we're getting a lot of tweets about how actually the UK government is the most to lose from this. Because last year they had a UK mango festival in Leicester, 16 million mangoes from India, market worth about £6 million. In just 2 months, they make a killing. Are you hopeful that perhaps domestic pressure across the European Union might just force the authorities to take a relook at the ban?
मुझे लगता है कि इस बैन को भी हमें एक अपॉर्चुनिटी की तरफ लेना चाहिए,
अच्छा,
क्योंकि कई चीज़ें ऐसी हैं जिसको हमें अपग्रेड करके अपने सिस्टम्स को बैक एंड से लेके फ्रंट एंड तक इतना बेहतर बनाना है कि ना सिर्फ वो यूरोपियन यूनियन के लिए, डोमेस्टिक मार्केट के लिए और दूसरी कंट्रीज़ के लिए भी एक स्टैंडर्ड सेट करने हैं। लेकिन मैं आपको यहाँ एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल देना चाहूँगा कि आज से 6-7 साल पहले जो एप्पल्स हम इंपोर्ट करते थे यहाँ पर, तो इंडियन एप्पल्स की कंडीशंस काफ़ी कमज़ोर थी उसके सामने। तो हमारे सामने 2 ही चीज़ें थी कि अपने आप को अपग्रेड कैसे किया जाए। आज 5 साल में इसको देखकर इस पोजीशन पे इंडियन एप्पल पहुंच गया है कि लास्ट 5 इयर्स में जो 20% एवरेज ग्रोथ थी इंपोर्ट की ज़्यादा, वो इस साल 38% कम हुई है। तो इसका मतलब इंडियन एप्पल एस्टेब्लिश हो रहा है। इसी तरीके से हमें मैंगोस में भी फार्मर्स को एजुकेट करना चाहिए, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर ज़्यादा बेहतर से बेहतर बनाने चाहिए, अपने स्टैंडर्ड्स के ऊपर स्ट्रिक्ट रहना चाहिए और उसके लिए एक अपॉर्चुनिटी लेके फिर आगे जाना चाहिए। और उसके लिए काफ़ी काम हो रहा है और हर लेवल पे अपनी अपनी जगह काम हो रहा है और उसके रिजल्ट्स भी आएंगे। और इस चीज़ में उनके पास हमारी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को, एपीडा को और लोगों को इस चीज़ का प्रेशर बनाना चाहिए कि आप नॉब्स बताइए, उस नॉब से जो आते हैं उसको क्लियर कीजिए, तो बैन हटाना चाहिए।
संजय मौर्य जी, अगर आप ये सुन रहे हैं, क्या आप समझते हैं कि ये जो बैन है आपके लिए भी किसी तरह से लेसन होगा कि शायद आप लोग अपने स्टैंडर्ड्स को थोड़ा ऊपर करें जो आप हार्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं और एक्सपोर्ट के लिए कर रहे हैं?
वो प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो सकता है, लेकिन क्या है, वो जो यूरोप के लिए रिलैक्सेशन लगता है, वो पनन मंडल जो अभी पनन मंडल कर रहा है, वो क्या करना चाहिए, वो रिलैक्सेशन प्रोसेस पूरे पनन मंडल के कंट्रोल में आना चाहिए और वो जो रिलैक्सेशन होने के बाद ही मैंगो जाना चाहिए। ये क्या होता है, सब लोग जो मैंगो एक्सपोर्ट करते हैं वो क्या होता है, बिना देख के जैसा मैंगो मिलता है वैसा मैंगो भेज देते हैं। इसीलिए क्या हो रहा है, वो क्वालिटी कंट्रोल नहीं हो रहा है और वो जो बैन आ गए हैं वो सिर्फ क्वालिटी कंट्रोल से आ गया। और क्वालिटी कंट्रोल इसके बाद वो ये पनन मंडल है और महाराष्ट्र शासन, अपने दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट, उन्हें ये इतना करेक्ट करना चाहिए कि पनन मंडल के चेकिंग के बिना मैंगो एक्सपोर्ट होना नहीं चाहिए। अगर ये क्वालिटी कंट्रोल होता है तो क्वालिटी कंट्रोल होता है तो मैंगो यूरोप में जाने के लिए कोई दिक्कत नहीं है।
जी जी। Okay, Dr. Murli, we're going to let you have the last word because I think we've debated the fact that, of course, there is a need for better standardization, matching global standards, and also lessons learned from this entire episode. What happens next from a solutions perspective? What are the next steps that can take place and should take place?
See, if differential standards are being applied on a commodity or a product for a particular chemical pesticide by across the years, say 24 ppm, 0.24 ppm, then they go down to 0.3 ppm, then they go down to 0.003 ppm. So such kind of differential standards exist in EU. I have evidence for it. For a particular commodity, for a particular chemical, and this cannot be justified. In any.
So what is a redressal?
Redressal is we need to take it to the WTO.
Okay.
We need to take it to the WTO, and
but before you make a submission would a submission to Brussels work, or would you say that we need to go?
We need to submit to the Brussels with evidence,
right.
with proper evidence, and lastly, I think vegetables are being rejected, declared unfit for consumption anywhere, are being destroyed.
Absolutely.
In EU.
And it has huge impact.
Huge impact. We don't realize.
And wastage.
And waste of those vegetables. Because they feel it is unfit, but maybe in Africa or some other country, it is fit for consumption, because their standard may be slightly lower. Okay, so maybe it could be shipped.
So would another flip side lesson to be learnt is that perhaps we should also be a little tougher and get the Europeans to be a little more flexible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Murli. Thank you so much, Mr. Rakesh, and Sanjay and Iqbal for joining us in this conversation on the ban on Alfonso mangoes by the European Union. You too can join in on the conversation by logging on to our website, indiapostlive.com. Continue tweeting with us, #IndiaPostLive. Thank you for watching.